There's a reason why you've never fit into boxes, spiritual or otherwise. It's not that you're confused or lost. It's that you've been positioned. There are people born to follow, people born to lead, and then there are a rare few born to bridge. If you're watching this, it's not by chance. Something deeper called you here. Because you've always known, even if you didn't have the language for it, that you exist between two worlds. You carry light and shadow in equal measure, and you've been judged for both. But what if I told you that's not your weakness? That's your divine assignment. Being a bridge between angels and demons doesn't mean you're half good and half evil. It means you've been entrusted with the sacred tension of duality. You're not here to choose a side, you're here to transcend the war entirely. That war, by the way, isn't just happening in some mystical dimension. It's happening inside you, inside all of us. And the rarest souls are the ones who can walk through both realms without losing their identity. Who can hold space for both the divine and the damned because they've seen both inside themselves. The first sign that you're a bridge is that your life has been marked by extremes, light and dark, ecstasy and despair. You've touched heaven in moments of absolute clarity, deep intuition, peace that feels like it doesn't belong to this world. And in the same breath, you've descended into hell battles with your own mind, emotions that feel bottomless, urges or fears you can't explain. Most people live in the middle. You don't. You've been pulled violently to both ends. Not because life is unfair, but because your soul is being prepared to navigate both domains. You're learning the languages of angels and demons, not to be controlled by them, but to become a translator for others who are lost in either realm. The second sign is that you attract people from both sides. You've probably noticed this. You draw in the deeply spiritual, the seekers, the light workers, the pure-hearted. But you also attract those who are wounded, chaotic, manipulative, even predatory at times. And you've probably asked yourself, why do I keep getting caught between these extremes? It's because you're a mirror. You reflect the hidden in people. You pull their truth to the surface, whether it's holy or horrifying, and that reflection either liberates or terrifies them. Some want to follow you. Others want to destroy you. That's the cost of being a bridge. You're not neutral, you're catalytic. But here's the deeper layer. You've played both roles yourself. You've been the angel. You've healed people, inspired them, saved them. And you've also been the demon. You've hurt people, sabotaged yourself, acted from fear or shadow. And the reason this hasn't disqualified you is because it's all been training. You can't guide others through the valley if you've only ever lived on the mountain. You can't speak to demons if you've never had a conversation with your own. And you certainly can't help someone find their light if you've never been lost in the dark yourself. Your scars are your credentials. Your duality is your access. The third sign is spiritual warfare that doesn't seem to stop. I'm not talking about random bad luck. I'm talking about cycles of intense energetic resistance. Right when you're about to level up, everything seems to fall apart. You get sick out of nowhere. Friendships crumble. Your mind turns against you. It's not random. It's because you're a disruptor. You're not just healing yourself, you're dismantling entire systems of illusion that have controlled others for lifetimes. Angels support you, yes, but demons watch you. They test you. They try to infiltrate you, not because you're weak, but because your existence is a threat to their agenda. Every time you choose truth over comfort, light over fear, integrity over ego, you're not just winning, you're waging war. And maybe that's why you've always felt like you were walking a line no one else could see. That's the fourth sign. You live in paradox. You can understand someone's deepest trauma and still hold them accountable. You can feel overwhelming love and still set a boundary. You can believe in destiny and still take full ownership for your choices. You don't deal in absolutes. You see the gray. And while others are arguing over black and white, you're already 10 steps ahead, speaking a language they don't even know exists yet. Let me ask you something personal. How many times have you been punished for being too much and not enough at the same time? Too intense, too soft, too deep, too strange, too emotional. too logical, too spiritual, too skeptical. That's not a flaw. That's friction. And friction is what happens when two worlds meet. Your very presence challenges the binary. You carry sacred contradiction, and that contradiction is divine. The fifth sign is that you've been given gifts that are hard to explain. You know things without knowing how. You dream things before they happen. You feel other people's energy like it's your own. You sense when there's something not being said. And sometimes you even hear things, guidance, warnings, downloads that come out of nowhere. But here's the twist. These abilities don't come from a single source. Sometimes you're guided by pure light. Other times you're warned by shadow. Both speak to you, not to control you, but to teach you. The angel shows you what's possible. The demon shows you what's hiding. And you, as the bridge, must discern the message in both. And that's the sixth sign. Discernment becomes your superpower. You stop labeling everything as good or bad and start asking deeper questions. Is this aligned? Is this real? Is this my ego or my soul? Is this fear disguised as intuition? You stop reacting and you start listening. You stop performing and you start remembering. And in that remembrance, you begin to walk with a kind of quiet authority, not loud, not boastful, but undeniable. People feel it before you speak. They trust you, even if they don't know why. The seventh and final sign is the most sacred. You carry a secret mission. You likely don't know all the details yet. You might still be searching for clarity, but deep down there's this undercurrent in your soul, a message that says, I'm here for something bigger. It keeps you awake at night. It whispers in your quiet moments. It urges you to keep going, even when no one else believes. That mission isn't just about light. It's not just about shadow. It's about integration. You're here to help others become whole, to show them that divinity isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about walking into the fire and emerging not unburned, but transformed. So let me ask you one final question for now. What would happen if you stopped trying to pick a side and started becoming the bridge you were born to be?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
To walk between realms is not a role that one randomly stumbles into. It is a path chosen before birth, written into the architecture of your soul. You may not remember the moment you agreed to it, but your life reveals the evidence. The chaos you've endured, the wisdom you've gathered, the battles you've fought in silence, none of it is meaningless. You were not just born into this world, you were initiated into it. And your initiation was fire. Not the kind that simply warms, but the kind that burns away illusions, forces you to shed identities, and compels you to choose truth over safety again and again. That's the path of the firewalker. And firewalkers are the rare few who can stand between heaven and hell without being consumed by either. You were chosen because you could hold both. Most people are either drawn to the light so completely that they become blind to their own shadows, or they're trapped in their darkness, unable to see even a sliver of hope. But you've walked through both terrains. You've tasted divine presence and felt demonic oppression in the same breath. You've prayed with angels and argued with demons, not out of madness, but out of clarity. You've seen how both realms are real and how both are reflected inside the human condition. That's why your perspective is so rare. You don't speak in absolutes. You speak from experience. And that's exactly why you were chosen. Because only someone who has walked through both realms can guide others through their own inner extremes. Only someone who has faced their own shadows without running can hold space for others to do the same. This is not about religious dogma or moral superiority. This is about capacity. You were chosen because your soul could endure the intensity of both realms and still remember who it is. That's not common, that's sacred. But let's be honest, this path is not easy. Being a bridge means you're constantly being stretched. You're pulled toward the divine, where peace, love, and clarity reside. But you're also pulled toward the underworld, where pain, trauma, and chaos live. And often you're asked to stand in the middle to bring light into the dark and to bring understanding into the light. This is why your life may have felt like a contradiction. Why you've had moments of deep spiritual connection followed by seasons of spiritual drought. Why you've been misunderstood by both the deeply religious and the deeply rebellious. You don't fit into their frameworks because you transcend them. You're not here to choose sides. You're here to reveal truth, and truth isn't comfortable. It's not always beautiful. Sometimes, truth looks like confronting the parts of yourself that you've buried. Sometimes it looks like calling out the spiritual bypassing of those who pretend to be only light. Other times it means reaching into the soul of someone who's been consumed by darkness and reminding them that they are still worthy of redemption. That's the work of a bridge. You don't just point to the path, you become the path. But here's the part many don't understand. To walk this path, you have to be willing to burn. Not once, not twice, but over and over. Every time you evolve, the old version of you must die. Every time you're called to a deeper truth, an illusion must fall away. You can't fake it. You can't bypass it. This path demands everything, but it also gives everything. Because when you walk through fire with your eyes open, you don't just survive, you become invincible. Not in the egoic sense, but in the spiritual sense. You become someone who cannot be manipulated by fear, someone the dark cannot seduce and the light cannot inflate. You become someone who knows. And that knowing, it's what others feel when they're around you. It's why people come to you with their secrets. Why strangers open up to you without knowing why. It's why you can walk into a room and immediately sense what's unspoken. You've walked through fire, and now your presence is fire. Cleansing, illuminating, sometimes even confronting, but always real. So if you've been wondering why your life has been so intense, why you feel things others don't, why you see truths others avoid, it's because you were chosen. Not to escape the fire, but to become fluent in it, to carry it with you, to bring it where it's needed. Let me ask you something direct and deep. When was the last time you thanked the fire for what it gave you, instead of just cursing it for what it took? Because when you fully accept that your pain was part of your preparation, you stop resenting your path. You start owning it. You were never meant to fit in heaven or hell. You were meant to bridge them. And that's exactly what you're doing, whether you realize it yet or not. Most people are terrified of the dark. They avoid it, suppress it, demonize it, or deny it altogether. But when you're a bridge between angels and demons, you don't have that luxury. You are called to the dark not to be consumed by it, but to understand it, to speak its language, to wield it as a tool for transformation, not destruction. And that requires a level of spiritual maturity that very few ever reach, because it's easy to talk about love and light. It's easy to quote affirmations and post images of enlightenment. But what happens when the light fades? What happens when shadows rise and the parts of you you've hidden come to the surface with no intention of leaving quietly? This is where most turn back, but not you. You are built for this. You were designed to descend not because you are broken, but because you are equipped. The darkness isn't here to destroy you. It's here to reveal you. It's in the dark that your real power is forged. It's in the silence, the confusion, the grief, the rage, the uncertainty that your soul speaks loudest if you have the courage to listen. This is what it means to walk the path of the bridge. You don't just endure the darkness, you extract wisdom from it. You learn its rhythm. You learn when it's lying and when it's telling the truth in a way only pain can. You learn that demons don't always show up with horns. Sometimes they wear your face. Sometimes they speak in your voice. And sometimes they just want to be seen, not fed. The key is this: you don't fight the dark with denial, you alchemize it with awareness. You meet the shadow, you shake its hand, you say, "What are you here to teach me?" And when you do that, when you stop running and start translating, you gain access to a level of power that's almost unexplainable. You become someone who can walk into emotionally chaotic spaces and bring stillness. Someone who can sit with someone else's shame and not flinch. Someone who can look into the eyes of addiction, betrayal, trauma, or rage and not be overtaken, but instead become a channel for healing. But this is where discernment becomes everything, because using darkness as a sacred tool doesn't mean you let it lead. It means you learn to wield it. Like a fire that can warm or burn, the shadow must be respected. You do not play with it lightly. You do not let it manipulate your ego. You do not let it convince you that you are unworthy. Instead, you use it to strip away illusion. You let it refine you. You allow it to show you where you've been dishonest, where you've been afraid, where you've been hiding. And when you bring that awareness into the light, you become whole. Let me ask you something that may challenge you. What parts of yourself have you labeled bad that are actually just misunderstood? Your anger, your jealousy, your lust, your fear. What if they're not sins to be shamed, but signals to be studied? What if they're ancient messengers carrying codes that, once decoded, unlock your next level of power? This is the sacred work of the bridge. We don't bypass the shadow. We translate it. We don't fear the demon. We decode its message. We don't drown in the dark. We retrieve what others are too afraid to touch, and we bring it into the light for all to see. That's why we are misunderstood. That's why we are feared. That's why people project their own unintegrated shadows onto us. Because we are mirrors, and the mirror does not lie, it reflects. And in a world addicted to illusion, reflection feels like violence. But it's not. It's liberation. So if you felt like your darkness disqualifies you from your light, I want you to understand something deeply. Your shadow is not a curse. It's currency. It's the price you paid for your wisdom. It's the terrain you had to cross to carry the medicine you now hold. And the deeper you've gone into your own darkness, the more trustworthy your light becomes. Because it has depth. It's not performative. It's not fragile. It's not trying to be liked. It's rooted. It's earned. And that's why people come to you when they're ready for real change. Because they know, consciously or not, that you've walked through places they're still afraid to name. And when you speak, they don't just hear words. They feel permission. Permission to be human. Permission to be messy. Permission to be both divine and flawed. Permission to heal. Remember this. The shadow isn't your enemy. It's your initiation. And you, as the bridge, are not here to eliminate it. You're here to integrate it. To turn what was once poison into power. To take the darkest parts of the human experience and reveal the divine hiding inside them. There comes a point in the journey of every bridge when the battle between the light and the dark no longer feels like a war. Not because one side has won, but because you finally realize that the war itself was never the point. You were never meant to destroy one side in favor of the other. You were meant to hold the tension between them until it transformed. You were meant to become the space where opposites could meet, not in combat but in communion. That space, that stillness, that sacred convergence is you. You are the living temple, the battlefield and the sanctuary, the paradox and the resolution, the rare soul who can carry heaven in one hand and hell in the other without collapsing. And the longer you walk this path, the more you realize that neither realm is inherently good or evil. They are forces, and your job is not to judge them, but to channel them in sacred service. You become the priest and the warrior, the mystic and the mirror, the rebel and the healer. You no longer fear contradiction because you embody it. And in that embodiment, you find peace, not the kind that comes from the kind that comes from integrating it. This is the final convergence. This is what all the pain, all the shadow work, all the spiritual awakening has been preparing you for. Not to escape the world, not to ascend beyond your humanity, but to come home to it, fully, fiercely, freely, to stand in your body, in your truth, in your presence, aware of your light, in relationship with your shadow, and at peace with both, because you now know the angel and the demon are not enemies. They are expressions. They are archetypes. They are teachers. And when you stop trying to exile one in favor of the other, you become something else entirely. You become whole, and wholeness is magnetic. It's why people are drawn to you even if they don't understand you. It's why your presence feels like both a challenge and a comfort. It's why people feel seen around you even when you say nothing. Because you've done the work. You've sat in the fire. You've spoken with your demons and danced with your angels. You've made peace with the parts of yourself others still run from. And that inner peace radiates outward. It becomes your frequency. It becomes your invitation to others to meet themselves in the same way. But with this power comes responsibility. Not perfection, but presence. You are now a living example of integration. And every room you walk into, every conversation you have, every decision you make either reinforces that integration or invites fragmentation. You must protect your energy not out of fear, but out of reverence. You must guard your soul's clarity not with walls, but with wisdom. Because now you understand you are a vessel, a sacred bridge, a walking convergence point between realms, and your life, your choices, your vibration, they echo in both. Let me ask you one final question. What would shift in your life if you treated yourself as a sacred temple, one that both angels and demons visit, not to possess, but to learn from? Because that's what you are. You are not here to banish parts of yourself. You are here to bless them, to bring them into harmony, to become the place where duality dissolves into divinity. The veil between realms is not somewhere out there. It is you. You are the veil and the vision, the shadow and the light, the question and the answer, the wound and the medicine. And now that you've remembered who you are, you don't have to be afraid of what you carry. You don't have to hide your power. You don't have to explain your depth. You've walked through heaven. You've walked through hell. And now you walk as the bridge between them, the rarest kind of soul. The living convergence. You are home.